to steal Gawain's episode.
No. This is
All right, so story from Jackson. Here we go.
All right, start off the episode story time.
Welcome to the podcast, everyone.
So we rock in. So I fucking apply for this job, yeah. And I'm like, just chuck my hat in the ring. We'll see what happens. I rock. So you do all this testing. You do like heaps of psychometric and like stress testing and like maths.
How do they test you for stress?
So I got this one test they emailed me, and it was like 200 questions.
Oof.
Of like how would you order like these things in importance? Sort of like 3 things. They were like put them 1 to 3, and then I think they check your answers at the start and check your answers at the end and make sure they match. Like, you know, that you haven't like lost patience and or lost like, because obviously when you're in the job you have to like sit there for ages and pay attention to a lot of different stuff. So they want your decision making to still be the same in hour 6 when you're working as it was in hour 1.
Sure.
If that makes sense. So I do all this. There's about 4 stages of online testing. Passed all those, obviously. And they're like, okay, sweet, we want you to come in for this assessment center. I don't know if like a few jobs have this, but like you go in and you go in and you meet the team, and you do more testing. Like bro, my interview was like nearly 2 hours. Of them like gassing me with questions. And I was sitting there like, yeah, okay, I've been self-employed. So they like demonstrate teamwork. I'm like, motherfucker, I do an individual sport. I'm self-employed. But like that sort of stuff. And then you do some simulator stuff, which was pretty cool. So I passed all that. But like I'm sitting there in this assessment center. I rock in and I sit down at this table and there's no one else there. And there's other name tags. And I'm like, all right, sweet. I'm in like a shirt. No, nice trousers and stuff. I think I look all right, you know. And these people just rock in and they're looking at me like I definitely don't belong there, eh? Because these are like normal sized people. Like they just walk in and see me sitting there. They're like, "Hi, I'm here for the assessment center," and I'm like, "Yeah, so am I. So am I." And then at the start, so they let you sit there for about half an hour. You know, you're sweated out. And my interview was first, so I'm peaking. And I'm sitting there talking to these people, and they've all got like my highest qualification at this stage is a certificate in personal training.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there talking, and this guy's like, "Yeah, I've got a double degree in mathematics and physics," and I'm like, "Sick, bro. Cool. Yeah, all good.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. All right."
And then, bro.
Yeah, and then, yeah, I've got this fucking calculator on my phone, bro. All good.
Yeah, man, I'm good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, can you fucking times kilos into pounds at like no, that? I can. Yeah. But you can't. And then this other person's like, "Yeah, I've got my commercial pilot's license and like 1,000 hours of flying experience." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, sweet. A plane's got wings and landing gear. That's about me, you know. Some of them have propellers, some of them don't." Yeah. So I was like, "Fuck, I'm well underqualified for this." But then from that assessment center, there was 6 of us, and I was the only one that made it through.
Ooh. Wow. That's awesome, man.
Very interesting. Very interesting. They don't take your previous experience into account at all.
No. Do you wonder what happened to those other guys?
Yeah, I'm curious to know. Like, I wonder if they were watching the interactions or anything like that.
Because me and Grant are going, I mean, we were wondering right now, do we have the right stuff?
Do you, bro? Apply. Get amongst, man. They did. The lady said to me off our intake, they had 2,400 people apply. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they got 12 of us.
Wow. That's awesome, eh?
So
I hope it's worth it.
Fucking A.
It's gonna be stink if you get it first. Oh no, it's not for
first
me.
day, fail. Oh well, I'm in jail.
Worth it. It was worth it.
Worth the fucking process.
Interviews could be, man. I'm in finance, right? So like, the entire interview process is so over the top and completely unnecessary.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like how you interact with people, your behavioral stuff. They ask you obscure. Greg, what do you do?
I work in basically HR.
He's that guy. He's the guy asking you the question.
I'm on that side of things. Yeah. In a roundabout way. Yeah. Yeah, I know. No, I know exactly what you're going through, man. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Multiple rounds, obscure questions, not to do really with anything, muchness, and then okay, you've got the job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? And you know what? You know that the there's a percentage that get through, and you think, wow, they interviewed so well, and then you get them on the first week in the job, and it's a fucking nightmare.
They're fucking potatoes.
It's me.
Yeah. Because honestly, people, it's like a rehearsal, you know. And if you rehearse long enough in interviews, you can ace them.
Oh yeah,
right.
You know what they want. You know what they want to hear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, you're making shit up, and you're making it sound a lot better than it probably was in real life. You know.
Yeah.
You know what to say. You don't say we did this. It's all about I did this. You know. And what was it? It was a lot bigger than it actually was, but I'm not going to tell you that. So, but you know, it's actually, you know, so you know, it was a lot less than it actually was. So people just ace through these interviews. The whole process is. I mean, my last job is the people I worked with last time. It's all about personality. You know, if you fit. You know, you fit with your manager in terms of that personality, your CVs, whatever it is, they don't really care.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You make shit up. Can you do all these bits and pieces? Yeah, I can. But it's about team fit and personality fit with the manager.
Yeah.
You know, and half the time you can get through things just with that formula alone. You know.
Yeah.
I was actually listening to the your guys' most recent episode, Gawain, and you just started your own brokerage.
Yes, I forgot I fucking said that. I need to be careful what I say.
Shameless plug. Let's go.
Was that supposed to be undercover?
Oh, I haven't. This is like how new it is. I'm like, I quit the bank literally 2 months ago, and I've literally done fuck all. Just enjoyed myself. You know, just been essentially a professional powerlifter for the past 2 months, and it's been fucking fantastic. And I've literally just began like the trademarking and things like that for the brokerage and the licensing and things like that. So that's kind of where I'm at. You know, when you asked me a couple of days ago, like, oh, when are you free? It's just kind of like, well, today's Thursday. I'm free from Thursday till next Thursday. I'm real free.
Like, yeah, you free in 5 minutes?
Yeah, I can do this whatever, brother.
So you've taken the leap, eh? You're out on your own now,
mate. It literally like 8 years in the bank, and I was a lender for 6 of those years, a manager for 6 of those years, both commercial as well as you know as the retail space, and it kind of got to a point just 2 to 3 months ago where I was just like, man, I make really good money. But then I worked out exactly how much money I was bringing in for the bank, and then worked out if I had written that myself as a broker, and it was like 3 to 4 times the amount of money. And I was just like, I don't need to fucking deal with cunts telling me, hey, you need to draw more money, you need to do more, when I've already done targets and things like that. I was like, wait a minute, I'm doing this myself for now, and this is bullshit. I'm gonna have the freedom that I deserve. I've earned the right to be able to do what I want. And that's where we're at. So that's kind of 100%. What we're doing right now.
100%, man. That's dope. I like the...
And, you know, with HR, right, like corporate environment, and you'll know is really, really soon as well, Jackson, like if you haven't worked in the office environment before in a corporate sort of environment, it's a different landscape, right? It's just it's 9 to 5. You know, as a banker, it was like, it's Groundhog Day for much of muchness, right?
Yeah.
And the older you get, Gawain, the older you get, the less tolerant of that whole thing you become.
The older that I've gotten, the less fucks that I've got to give. You don't have this? Sweet. Fuck off. I've got 10 other people I'm going to deal with.
I've got other people that are willing to give me fucking money.
Exactly right. You don't like how I've done this? Well, kind of too bad, because I'm ahead, and, you know, I really don't care about your feelings. I care about my results. So
Yeah. I've just taken a new job myself. I was ready to throw in the bucket too with corporate work and corporate life, but I can't just yet because my wife is still studying, so I need to wait for her to finish studying, and then she can take up full-time employment. So I've got one last hurrah in the corporate world, but it's
and then what do you do?
I wanted to actually open a gym and just earn no money, but just sit in the gym and talk.
Well, you know what? You'll be fucking broke and you'll be fucking happy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I just wanted to sit there and smack talk with boys and the boys and the girls and whoever comes in. and just lift some heavy weights. Well, they will lift some heavy weights, and I'll talk about it on the podcast. But that's about it. But I'm not quite there yet. So maybe for another 5 years. 5 years. Wait for the kids to. I got to pay for the bloody university first. So when the kids are finished universities,
what's the miso study?
So my wife's studying naturopathy at the moment. So her final year is next year. So once she's a fully fledged naturopath, which will be next year, she'll open up her own clinic eventually as well. So talking maybe 2 or 3 years. The kids are about maybe 5 years. Well, they're in college now, so they're in university. But so maybe 5 to 10 years, pack it all in, move out of the big smoke, open up a powerlifting gym, have 5 members.
That 5 members. That's 5. Generous, bro. You could be the receptionist at the clinic.
I'll probably end up being exactly.
The ambit lady.
It's all wishful thinking, eh? It's all wishful thinking. It's got to be done, though.
You just got to do it. You got to bite the bullet and just be like, "No, I'm out of here. I'm done with this nonsense."
Yeah, done. Yeah, and this new gig's not even 9 to 5. It's more like it starts at about 7 while I'm on the bus.
Oh, it never is. It never is.
And then it ends at about 6:30 at night. Sometimes later. I even work today. So but that's hey.
Ooh.
I know. And Jackson's probably going to earn double what I'm earning and work 30 hours a week.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't want to flex, but like I'm about to go into less hours than I've ever done.
Exactly. But when you
going to coach at the same time, Jackson?
Yeah, man. So I've just taken all my clients online. I mean, I had a fair few online already. But all my clients that I did have down in Christchurch, a few of them have gone to train with Chris, who I run Wolfpack Strong with. A couple have gone out on their own because I've taught them how to do their own
what they need to do.
What they need to know. And the rest of them, they love my programming, feedback, etc. So we're just doing online.
I love your model. That's great.
Yeah, which is dope.
It's credit to yourself.
So I get to do both, which is cool. I wouldn't want to throw in the towel on coaching completely. It's rewarding, man. It's cool.
Yeah.
And and it's powerlifting. Like, it's sick. I'm gonna fucking lift till the day I die. So it's cool to be able to help other people do that as well.
Exactly right. As long as you keep, your fingers and toes in the joint, you'll be all right. You'll be somewhat fulfilled, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. You've taken on some coaching as well yourself.
Yeah, let's start talking about our guest, eh? So this is our guest.
Yeah. This is just the boys' yard.
Gawain Johnstone, everyone.
This is
Welcome
good,
to the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to episode fucking whatever it is.
It's not the Jackson and Greg show. Yeah.
Sorry, boys.
No, it's all good, man. But yeah, so you're taking on some coaching clients yourself?
Yeah, I kind of just got used to giving away and coaching for free, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then someone said, "Hey, you pay for that."
Yeah. Why do you charge for that?
Well, the biggest thing was I was just consistently getting people coming to me for help, who number one didn't have a coach or had a coach, and they'd get to 4 to 6 weeks out and they'd be like, "I'm fucked. I'm cooked. Help me. What do I do?" And my immediate response was, "Well, talk to your coach, because they're the ones that are meant to be handling you. She won't respond. She doesn't respond. She thinks I'm being a pussy. Well, you probably might have been a bit of a pussy or whatever it is. But then it's always like, well, consider X. I would never say do this. I would always be like, consider X, Y, Z. And then they'd apply X, Y, Z. And then it was like, yeah, I did so fantastic. It's standard social media bullshit where it's like, oh, fucking best prep ever. I'm so happy. Thank my family. Thank my coach. She's the best. And I would be like,
how's that work? Because Jackson, you might get this as well. How does it work when people come up to you and they've got a coach? And powerlifting's a small industry, a small niche sport in both countries, and so chances are you probably know the coach as well. How does it work 100%. when these athletes come to you and say, "Look, can you help me out?" and blah blah blah, and you do help them out, and then the coach finds out, or the coach doesn't find out? Is there any kind of conflict that ever happens from that?
No, I think that I've put it forward in a way which respectful first and foremost. I have been a full-time coach. I was a full-time coach for a very long time, right? So I understand the respect that's required when you're in that circumstance. So if roles were reversed, I always put myself in that position where I'm like, if they did that, or if my athlete did that, I'd be fucking pissed at both himself, at the athlete, but also the other coach, right? Because it's a respect thing. Even if I didn't know the bloke or the girl or the female, I'd be pretty pissed because there's a respect thing. There should be a professional element there, right? But like you said, our industry is very, very small. It's quite niche. So I do know their coaches. I do know them. So, you know, I think they go back to I think what happens is they go back to he or she and they go, oh, can we consider X, Y, Z? Coach says, that sounds like an okay idea. I'm all right with that.
Why the fuck didn't I think of that?
Sure. Yeah. Or whatever it is, right? And then they go on and whatever it is. So, yeah.
So, Gawain, how many times have you taken on Thomas Lilly's athletes? Because he's fucked up. Come on, spill the dirt. Oh, Will Crozier. Will Crozier. Let's get it out in the open.
What week is it? It's week 1? No, I'm kidding.
Let's name and shame. No, that's a hard one though, man. Like, because I found that bit as well, to be fair, especially in person, because when you're in the gym, you know, and you're sitting there chilling in between sets, and someone's like, "Oh, like, can you just watch my squat?" And I'm like, well, I have people that pay me for that, so like, yeah. You know, that's one of the things I always lead with, especially Instagram DMs and shit like that. Like, just say, "Hey, look, I have people that pay me for this, so it's disrespectful of me to go and give you it for free."
Yeah, 100%.
And then if they come at me aggressively, I'm like, dude, if I'm good at something, I'm not going to do it for free. Fuck off.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's pretty much it. But you try and be respectful.
I'm always going to be the type of bloke where I'm going to be the sport of powerlifting is always going to be at the forefront of what I'm trying to do. Right? Like, you may have seen I've tried to promote pre-COVID. Drive powerlifting throughout Southeast Asia, and it's always growing the sport. No one's bigger than the sport, right? And when we're in these positions where it's like you create a platform where you create a voice, particularly when it's like yourself, Jackson, where it's face to face and things like that. You're in a position of you're in a position of seniority, and there are people that obviously will look up to you, right? But at the same breath, there will be a certain percentage of people that will look to take the fucking piss out of you, right? I don't know. I know that's an Aussie slang, but I'm sure it works across the world. Taking the fucking piss out of people, right? And you know, I'm always going to be the person that's going to put their hand up and go, like, I'll help you. I'll give you some perspective on what you potentially could be doing, or maybe herein lies the problem. But you know, people will look after themselves first and foremost, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. And
that's okay.
Question for you both, because advice for like new coaches straight off the block, you know, who are looking to prove themselves, do they give anything away for free, or should they start charging from the get-go? Because it's going to be like, I assume for some, there's going to be that imposter syndrome where they're thinking, shit, you know, I'm just starting out as a coach. You know, I'm definitely not a Gawain, I'm not a Thomas, I'm not a Will, I'm none of these people. But you know, I need to obviously earn a bit of money too, and I want to prove myself. You know, what would you say to that? What would you say to people that
I would be 100% like 100% you're going to have to do shit for free. 100%. If you're going to build a name and you give a shit about your branding, there's no other way, unless you're a high level athlete, that you're going to be able to create a brand or drive a brand. Because you're going to be driving a brand around what? You're going to be like one of these social media flunks who are just like putting out content like, oh, we should be doing this. And, you know, man, no one fucking cares. Like, either be elite or be an elite coach, right? You need to build your branding around that. And you've got to be able to build your brand and grow to that. So you're going to have to doing shit for free. If this is something that you want to drive and really be successful, you're going to have to. Obviously, you need to do it to a point where you've got to put food on the table for the family. Well, obviously, right? But if you, I think when you're just starting out, you're gonna have to. What I say to my girls and my guys, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to suck it the fuck up for a little bit, because this is for the next 12 weeks, 14, 16 weeks. This is gonna suck.
What point do you monetize? Is it literally like going from free to paid, or is it your free content it drives people into the paid content?
It depends on who it is, right? Like I'm very, and the other thing is this is when I started in powerlifting, I got my start with a coach who never charged me, right? Never asked for $1, right? So there's that embedded.
Can I scrap that name? I'll just write it down.
It's ingrained in my moral compass, right? Like I like others do struggle with the fact that yes, I have to charge this, even though the fact that I've come from a place where I got my start, which put me in this position that I'm in, where I got it for free. So it's definitely a difficult question. And when you monetize is, I think, when you earn the right to be able to, if you're taking, you need to be quite skilled around taking in the right people. Maybe you got to negotiate with the right people to be able to grow your brand a little bit, and maybe give them a discount or whatever it may be, right?
What are your thoughts on that, Jackson?
I mean, dude, when I started PTing, like I was hoping to train powerlifters. Dude, I was training like Karen from accounts who was drinking 3 cucumber waters on a Monday morning because she had down 20 cocktails on a Saturday and wondering why she wasn't losing weight,
Yeah.
It's one of those things. So I was just a yes man.
Karen from accounts.
You're just a yes man to start with, man. I was getting up at 5 a.m, get down to the gym for 6 to run someone through some bullshit circuit, just because that's what they wanted to do, but they were willing to pay me for it. So I was like, okay. And then that let me help out some younger guys who were like, I saw trying to strength train, trying to get bigger or whatever. And I could say to them, hey, look, do you want to you should do this with your squat, or do you want to have a look at your bench press, or do you want a program or whatever for free? And then they tell their mates, and then eventually you just learn more and more by putting more eyes on people, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like you do have to get a bit of experience behind yourself and just be a yes man to start with, like 100%, because otherwise you're stuffed. But yeah, it's a tough one, man. Like, and then you get into a position where you can be selective. Like for me now, I just train competitive powerlifters, so it's one of those things where you just, you have to, like Gawain said, you have to build yourself up and you have to say, right, okay, I'm good enough for this now.
Yeah. It comes with an element of intent, right? That, like, am I giving? Because whatever you're going to give, and as you get older, you realize in life, the more that you do give, the more that you get back in return. But, it's got to come from a place, not from greed, but from obviously a level of righteousness where you're doing this to help people. It will come back eventually, as long as you be consistent with it.
100%. It's a funny one as well. You see, like I'll still help out the occasional person for free. Like I'll be like, hey, you should try this with your squat. Or like, but it has to be someone that I know is going to then actually use it and apply it, because I don't want to waste my time giving them help if they're going to go back and do their own stupid shit on a fucking
Hamish Coulter.
Don't mention names, but I gave him a program and he went off in the second session.
No names, Hamish.
So like you pick people like that who I see, say, a younger version of me in, and I'm like, I know that you're actually going to stick to this and you're going to do well with it. Whereas there's a lot of people that'll be like, hey, can you do me a program? And I'm like, yeah, sure thing, bro. It's $100. They never pay it. I'm like, so you were going to stick to that program for what, one session?
If that, right?
If that, like you need some sort of commitment out of people, because otherwise people don't stick to it.
No.
And if someone's not going to pay a bill at the start,
that
they're just taking the fucking piss, like Wayne said.
Yeah. There's a sense of a lack of value when something is free for some people, at least,
True, 100%. You've got to make sure that they've got skin in the fucking game too.
Yeah,
if they don't have skin in the game, then more likely they are to take the piss and to run off and not apply themselves.
Exactly.
Gawain, let's back the truck up a bit and let's talk a little bit about you. Where you been, man? I'm looking at your open powerlifting. Where you been? You haven't done anything since 2019.
Yeah,
What's
Greg,
going
you know
on?
how his coach helped him out for free at the start? It's because he totaled double what you ever have. At his first comp.
Okay, Brad, you come crashing into the scene with an 8-12 total. Was that your first time lifting?
No, it was I did a state comp before that, which was 7-12, so I put 100 kilos on my total.
As you do.
But yeah, as you do as a junior.
Yeah.
But
you did some weightlifting, didn't you, Gawain?
Yeah, see, it's a funny story, right? When I went. Do you guys have LaSalle or De La Salle in New Zealand? Is it a high school, college?
De La. Well, not De La. I was going to say De La Salle. No, that's a group, isn't it? What do you call it?
That's a singer. De La Salle.
It sounds familiar, but no, it sounds familiar. Tell us all about it.
Maybe in New Zealand, right? It's a private Catholic schoolboys school, right? And that's where I went to high school, and at year 7, so as an 11-year-old, first year into high school, I was extremely shy, and I was just fucking around in the weight room. And what happened was that I ended up getting kind of bullied by the PE teacher to start lifting weights. What I thought was lifting weights, and it was actually weightlifting. It just so happened that the place where it actually had been, considering the fact that I thought it was detention, was actually the Hawthorn Weightlifting Centre, which is where the Victorian contingent of the Olympic team was preparing for whatever competition that they were preparing for. So that's kind of how I got my I guess my sports specific start in lifting weights was, luckily enough, with Olympic level weightlifting coaches. And then for the next 2.5, 3 years, I was literally like, have absolutely no idea what I was really doing, because you're 11 years old, lifting 5 days a week and doing like 50, 60, 70 sets of squats a day, and, you know, living your life. And that's kind of how I got my start. And then after that, I kind of got bored of it. My coach was an ex-gold medalist for Bulgaria, and he actually wanted me to go from 5 sessions to 7 sessions to 10 sessions a week to get ready for a comp. And I was just like,
that sounds Bulgarian to me. Yeah,
so Bulgarian.
Anytime you put Bulgarian or Russian in front of a program, you know you're gonna get fucked up.
Bro, I remember I did a comp and I did really well, and then so that was on the Saturday, and then on the Monday I turned up to training. And he used to write my programs out on like a yellow piece of manila paper, right? And it was literally like that long of list per day of exercises that I was doing. I was like, this is a lot. This is a lot, Sev. And he was like,
this is a lot.
You stronger now, no problem. You no problem.
yeah, take this. Supplements.
Yeah, supplements. Oh, I got a great story. So
here we go.
My first exposure to alleged performance enhancing drugs was, and I've told this to a couple of mates who are Olympic lifters as well, and my coach, who was an Olympic lifter back in the day as well. I was training, and obviously I'm just completely focused on what was going on in front of me. But it was probably like, I would say 12 to 6 months before the Commonwealth Games. I would say somewhere around there, right? And so what would happen is, as the pleb in the gym, as the young buck in the gym, you got the shittest platform, the shittest bar, the shittest plates, all those things. You got to earn. I love it. You got to earn the fucking right to get the really nice elite go.
Is that right? That's awesome.
Yeah. I was like, I look back on it and I'm just like, that's fucking like brilliant. Like, earn the right culture in that place. And it didn't gel to me for ages, right? Anyway, but so they actually structure the outlay of the gym where that platform where the pleb was actually opposite the king dick, whoever was the man in that
Nice.
joint for the day, right?
Nice.
So you'd be lifting, you're going through your sets over and over and over and over again, and then you'd have like Commonwealth Games gold medalist, Olympic team member, like right in front of you, just like executing for fucking hours and hours and hours, right? Not laughing, not giggling, nothing. They're just like smashing it, right? Anyway, I was training, and I remember seeing everyone was getting ready for the Commonwealth Games or to qualify for the Commonwealth Games. And this one gentleman in particular, I know he was a previous member of the Commonwealth Games. He was a very, very good, I won't say what weight class, but he was in a lighter weight class, right? And then he fucking went missing for a while. And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, where the fuck is this guy?
Nice.
Like, I thought he was getting ready to qualify for the games. So where is this guy? And then probably, I would say 3 to 6 months later, he just popped up again. And he was training in the gym. I was like, oh, maybe he had a bit of a break or something like that.
Boom.
But he fucking took his jumper off. And he was jacked and fucking shredded. And I was like, hey,
wow,
how did this happen?
How much creatine you take?
He did really, that was a lot of Musashi, right?
Yeah. Korea bulk.
Again, it didn't jerry to me until later on. I was like, that's what that fucker was. There's no way he did that.
He's down in the basement growing.
Yeah, exactly right. He's in fucking wherever he was from. I can't remember where he's from, but some Eastern Bloc country, and obviously not a part of testing. So
yeah.
So I did that for 3 years.
Nice. And then you entered the scene in 2009, powerlifting scene 2009, the Capo Comp. So I was just training in the gym, and I had the again, like I was telling you boys earlier, the luxury of meeting my coach, who again didn't for whatever reason saw whatever he saw in me, and took me under his wing, and I did a state comp in 2009. Did pretty good for what I thought was pretty good. My entire goal for powerlifting, because I wanted to be Mr. Olympia, right? My entire goal for powerlifting was I just want to go 800 to, I just want to go 300, 200, 300, and my life is set. Like, that's all I want. Yeah. I don't need any more. That's that's the ultimate, you know? And then I went 712, 812 in the same year, and I was like, oh, maybe I can do more than this. Maybe there is more to this. And then just like, it was game over after that. The bug had well and truly bit me, and I was sucked into it.
What year was that? That was 2009.
2009. So the 2009, and then at the end of 2009, I fucking blew my quad pretty bad, and then had some time off. Came back for nationals, won nationals. And then came back to do another nationals, equipped like a spaz with no practice.
Equipped, though. Who do you need to practice?
You need practice with that shit.
Just give it.
What's the worst that could happen?
Exactly. Yeah, Arnold's multiplied too, eh? Yeah.
The thing with that, I mean, people are hearing probably like 812 or whatever and thinking that's not that good of a start. Well, I mean, it's a mean start, but like, in 2009, no one was doing that sort of shit, especially raw.
So 812 was like mixing it with the men, and those boys. I remember it's probably part of the reason why I continued on with powerlifting was because the lads that were competing at the time, Alan Cleese, Jason Durbridge, Dirk Boyle, all those boys were like elite level lifters, right? But they're all around that sort of 850, high 800 mark, and they were just kind of like, who the fuck is this young lad? Like, you know, starting to lift some big weights, and they would like pat. The culture was totally different, right?
Yeah.
Culture back then is like, you got guys like that, you put their arm around you, man, boys, like you're going to do great. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't be a fucking idiot, this sort of stuff. And well, juniors now are going 800-900, no dramas, right? It's a different ballgame.
Well, that's what I mean. The perspective's very much changed. Like back then, man, that's like anything over 800. That's like well up there back then. So what do you think? Why do you think that's changed so much? What do you think's making juniors, like you say, be able to go? You know, you've got Ashton. We had Ashton Rushker on the other week, and he's gone 950 at 100 kilos,
which is fucking
just obscene as like a mid-20s. Like that's disgusting.
I think, you know, Jackson, we've talked about this a few times, mate. It's like a few times now, mate. It's like the 4-minute mile thing. So once the 4-minute mile was broken every time Dick and
everyone does it.
Yeah. So once 800 dropped, everyone's doing 800, 900, and then now we're in the thousands, and now we're in the 1100s. Now we're heading towards the 1200s, you know, and so the bar keeps getting raised. But as soon as the bar gets raised, everybody goes, "Hey, that's possible." And then switch in their mind goes off and goes, "Okay, I can probably add another 100 kilos onto my total now."
Yeah.
So it probably helped you, Gawain. It probably helped you having people around you that were they just ahead of you? Like we're talking 40, 50 kilos just ahead?
Yeah, 40, 50 kilos ahead. You know, and it's the one that I was welcomed in with that culture as well. They were a lot bigger than me. Obviously, everyone's fucking bigger than me, but they were really welcoming.
Person, man. No one's bigger than you.
No, there are a lot of guys. When you get to the big dog level, have you judged big dogs before?
No.
When
I
you get to big dogs, mate, you'll be like,
Marcus,
the littlest dude here.
Fucking
I'll tell him. Don't worry.
Yeah, take care of that COVID business first, eh? And then
Oh fuck me. Yeah, they were really welcoming. So I guess that's like, oh man, I'm a part of something. Particularly as a young man, it's really important to feel that you're a level of actualization where you're part of a community with other older men, that sort of thing. It's the things that we search for, right? So
100%.
I think also to go off what you guys were saying as well, like our sport being strong, it's becoming more sexy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like more people want to be strong, which is obviously increasing the pool that we draw from as competitors, as coaches and things like that. So the greater the pool, the more amount of talent we're going to be able to draw from. You know, I think also like the focus and the requisite to be really strong, particularly from a sports perspective as well, is really emphatic as to also why our numbers are going up as well, because you know, it's obviously rugby is massive in New Zealand, but also it's highly strength training is obviously very, very important and something that's really growing in Australia as well. All the way across the board, there are a lot more younger people that are lifting weights and having to lift weights because they want to be stronger, which is obviously affecting our bottom line as powerlifters, right? Which is a fantastic thing. I coached for nearly 3 years, about 2.5 years in the US, right? And teaching them how to lift weights, and I was the head strength coach at D1 in Michigan, which is a prep facility where we would predominantly speaking, get guys ready for their combine. So the combine is essentially their draft for whether it's the NBA, NFL, NHL, that sort of thing. But we'd also do is we'd have programming and getting guys and girls ready for their season. So that ranged from 6-year-old kids who are getting ready for their sports seasons up to professional athletes, right? And they're all coming in and training with each other, having me to teach them how to squat, bench, and deadlift, how to running mechanics, periodization for them in order to obviously be ready and be peaked or get through a season. I mean, that's obviously the difference, you know. That's why they have that bigger pool to draw from as well, because they have that experience.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, that's an impressive CV there, right? So the work over in the US, how long did that go on for?
I was coaching there, like I said, between 2 and 3 years, because I was living there, because I was trying to make an NFL team. Powerlifting, the beautiful sport that it is, actually got me the opportunity to be able to travel and have the opportunity to play sports overseas, and that sport was American football. You know, after I'd won 2010 nationals, that's when, like, between that period and 2011 nationals, when the phone began to ring, when the emails started to come in, because for whatever reason, I think that someone had some affinity to the intensity and the speed to which I moved weights from point A to point B, and it just for whatever reason, thankfully, the dude upstairs had something to do with this. It just you know, it got overseas, and this is obviously when YouTube and things like that were pretty primitive in their nature, right? So that experience, you know, like I said, turned to phone calls or emails. Would you consider? Do you think about this? How do you feel about this? Come over to play American football. And during that period of time, I got the opportunity to coach at one of these facilities, obviously to feed myself. And I grew a great affinity to the head coach at D1 there in Detroit. So We still chat probably every other day now. He's a head high performance coach in Hollywood, but he's actually been interviewing for roles. He interviewed for the I can't remember their name. For the Jaguars, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Philadelphia Eagles jobs as well. So it's a very privileged, I'm very grateful for the experiences that I had whilst I was there. A lot of those boys, we were just talking, a lot of those boys just are playing NHL or the level below NHL, MLB. You know, a couple of them were first round picks. A couple other girls were we're breaking into the US track team and things like that. So my experience is not just obviously with strength training and powerlifting, but also mechanics of athletic development as well.
That's hectic, man. That's like I agree. That's an impressive CV of like strength and conditioning coaching.
I'm very lucky, very lucky, because like we were talking about when I was asking you about the traffic controller. I don't have a degree for this. This is being immersed 24/7 for like 3 years straight, nearly 3 years straight. Just like
yeah, 100%, man.
I got to ask, in all those years of coaching, did you see anyone that you would think that you would be like, wow, damn, if you ever get sick of football, come powerlift because you're going to kick ass. I can imagine
any of them, surely they're all fucking genetic freaks.
Yeah. Bro, where our culture here in Australia, and I obviously can't speak from New Zealand perspective, but our culture here from Australia, if I was to pick a word for it, is really fucking soft.
That's 2 words.
Maybe they'll edit that out.
Actually, that's 3 words. That's 3 words.
Soft, you just offended all 3 of our Australian listeners.
I got a little emotional, all right? Yeah. Soft, right? But because like I said, how many 6-year-old, even 6-year-old girls that are wanting to play professional basketball, both in Europe and in the US, would come in 5 days a week and just be like, hey coach G, I'm here to work. Not saying anything, not whinge and complain, not piss fart around. Like, I'm here to work. Here's my water. Cool, no problem. I'm going to run laps. I'm going to do my prehab. I'm going to do all my therapy, and I'm going to go squat. I'm going to do exactly what you tell me to do.
Wow, is that for real? Really? Wow,
for real. 200 to 250 athletes I was coaching there at a D1 per week, and they range from 6 years old to, I guess, 35 was probably the oldest bloke there.
Sure, we just don't have that, eh? We don't have it over here.
Do you think some of that though is the fact that the pathway is like there and 100% like it's like when you start in a new company, you start here and that you're going to then go for that job, and you have to do this and this along the way. And so for them,
it goes back to culture, right?
Yeah,
it goes back to the culture there in the US, because obviously there's an emphatic drive for young men and women to aspire to be something outlandish and something huge, to be a fucking superstar, right? Which is great.
Yeah.
We would treat them accordingly, is what I would say. It's like, okay, you're wanting to play pro sports. I appreciate the fact that you're 12 years old, but you need to understand that I'm the boss and you're here to work right now. You can have fun after the session. Right? Yeah. Because your parents or whomever it is, or whatever we've done, is that they're paying a lot of money to be able to have you here and give you the opportunity, or you've earned the opportunity to be able to be here, right? The pathway for them is obviously a lot clearer. But then again, there are a lot of athletes that were there that their pathway was something that was a lot more severe. There, obviously being in Detroit, there was a significant amount of African American kids and young athletes, young men and women, whom, if they didn't get a scholarship to college, they would have nothing else. So they'd be in a gang, or they'd work retail in a dangerous part of Detroit, and they'd have nothing else. So it was, for some people, it was a matter of life and death. If I didn't turn up to training, if I didn't do what Coach G said, if I fucked around, like this may hinder my progress, or it may take away from what I'm trying to do. There's an element of desperation there. So yes, it's more clear, but obviously there's also the added pressure for that sector of young men and women who really, really, really had to be there because they didn't have the grades to be able to be anything else. Right? They couldn't go to college. They couldn't afford to.
Did you ever have to make any really tough calls? You know, if the talent just wasn't there, I mean, you knew that the life choices would be really limited, but you just had to make.
No, look, I treated everyone the same. Everyone, and it's probably part of the reason. It's part of the reason why I can only handle a certain amount of lifters right now, is because I know how I treat myself as a lifter and how I treat myself as a brand, as an athlete. Right? Mm-hmm. I don't know how to articulate that to my lifters in a way that it's okay for them. This is the standard that I have for myself. This is this. You want to do the numbers that I've done or had the experiences that I've had. This is what it takes. I'm giving you the blueprint to not only get to me, but obviously be better than me, and to be able to then pass it on to everyone else. Right? If you can't do that, then go find someone else. There are obviously circumstances where I look back, and I'll tell you a story in a second, where I look back and I'm like, I don't think I was ever soft, but I was definitely way too hard. Way too hard. I tell us when I get the opportunity to speak. I tell the story about one of the young boys and an experience, an interaction that we had. In one summer. So the summer for them is essentially their downtime. They're on holidays, right? So I had probably like 3 groups going at once. So there's 10 groups. So there's 10 people per group. So 30 people in the gym at once, all just like revolving door line to squat 60 kilos, 100 kilos, 140 kilos, rep after rep after rep, switch, and just like the revolving line. So this young boy had came in and he was late for the session. So first pet peeve of Coach G is fucking I'm mad as it is, right? The problem is, right, is that he was one of the best players in the entire state. So there was a level of entitlement there. And I was aware of that. So I literally was coaching. I remember just seeing him out the corner of my eye, shirt off, because it's hot in the summer, it's muggy in the summer, shirt off. This kid was like 95 kilos at 15 years old, sub 10% body fat, could take 105 kilos out of the rack, bench press for 10 reps, no problem, put it back, no warm up. Right, ran sub 4.6 in the 40, amazing athlete, right? One of the best linebackers in the entire Midwest. So he was getting off as like a 15-year-old to get full scholarship. So he thought he was the shit.
Yeah.
But you're not the shit when you walk into my gym. So he was there. He was, come fooling around, chatting to people, blah, 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 blah. And I yelled him to come over, and I was still coaching at the same time. And this group, they were kids. It was essentially like a young class. So anywhere between sort of like, they were 11 to 16-year-olds, right? 30 of them were standing there going through what they needed to do. I called him over and I was like, I came up, we got real close to him. I was like, how is it that you fucking think that you can fucking come in here with no shirt off? There is young women in here and you don't have a fucking shirt on. Whose gym do you fucking think that you're a part of right now? And he shat himself. And then you come in here, you fucking come in here late. How fucking dare you? Who do you fucking think you are, right? The entire time, right, he's standing there shitting bricks. And I just remember him having the backpack and a McDonald's bag, a little McDonald's bag, right?
You take his lunch.
Like, are you going to fucking say anything? Or are you just going to stand there? And then you walk in here and you're eating Big Macs and you're fucking late? Who do you think you are? And he was like, I'm really sorry, coach. I'm like, what's with the fucking Big Macs? And he was like, it's all I could afford to eat for the entire day. Oh. And I was just like,
I don't fucking care. Fuck. Give those Big Macs to me.
The sympathy card.
I'm hungry too, kid. And I was like, listen, Don't ever be late again. Get ready and
Give me a Big Mac.
and join the line, join the queue. So it's funny that we're having this conversation because I saw that he got picked up by an NFL team late rounds in the draft this year. So
oh wow,
cool.
Okay, so you followed his career. Awesome.
Oh, it just popped up because like I wouldn't say I followed him. Too many athletes to really sort of follow. But just through conversations and chatting to Coach Getz every other day, he mentioned that he got picked up by the Baltimore. So
nice,
congratulations to him.
Nice. Greatest. What's your greatest success story, or what's your favorite?
In powerlifting or story?
Oh, just in terms of those athletes that you've taken through. You know, who's someone that stands out to you that like you
probably that. That's a big one. I used to coach a group of ice hockey boys who are hard as fucking nails, and they're all either playing NHL level, AHL level, or the level before breaking into that, or got full scholarships from that. That's freaking amazing. You know, coaching and training the boys that I got to train with as well. One of my good mates now, he was, like we said, how this came up was like, were there any freaks? Yes, there were freaks. These boys would come in and, you know, miss warm up. I'd be trying to warm up and prehab and all this sort of stuff, and they were shooting hoops and things like that, not giving a fuck, doing like 360 dunks and things like that. But one of the boys in particular was so athletic, couldn't make a fucking NFL team, but literally walked into the American bobsled team, just like, no problem. I'm 6'5", you know, 100 kilos and shredded and can run an obscene speed, and, you know, I have X amount of power because, you know, I can squat, deadlift, and this sort of thing. So probably those experiences at the moment are probably the ones that sort of jump out the most. Recently, I think from a powerlifting perspective as a coach, probably the work that we've been doing with one of my lifters at the moment. She's a female Muslim girl, and the effect that she has on a Muslim community because she's kind of outside those boundaries, and breaking those boundaries to be able to, you know, be an advocate for female Muslim people. So, is there
a stigma with the Islamic community when it comes to powerlifting, or
massively, brother? Yeah, massively.
Is that right? Didn't know.
Yeah, like very frowned upon. You know, I got the opportunity to speak in Malaysia, and I'd never been to Malaysia prior to this, right? I didn't realize that there was such a big Muslim community in Malaysia.
That's huge.
And I reckon I had at least half a dozen women who attended the seminar, which in itself is like a big deal. But these women were also were Muslim and like full hijab. And they pulled me aside or DM'd me after and said, you know, you don't understand how valuable this experience has been for me as a Muslim woman, to be able to break and buck the trend to what our community would sort of hold onto us. This inspires and motivates me to be more than just what I'm told that I can be, and then I can have my own aspirations and exceed those aspirations if I so choose to. So massively invigorating experiences, particularly in those communities.
Did you spend a bit of time powerlifting in Malaysia, or have you introduced powerlifting to Malaysia, or what's the story there?
Malaysia they have a pretty good growing community. It's only because of because I've been trying to drive powerlifting, because I'm half Filipino, right? My mom's Filipino, so I got the opportunity to go back home and appear and be a fucking pseudo Z-grade celebrity,
Dude,
you know,
lifting. Gawain is a superstar over there.
Yeah. It was like Rami coming back to Egypt. It was like, yeah, Gawain.
Right.
Yeah.
Like drive the sport there, and you know, because of that, particularly in the Southeast Asian communities, it grew to like being able to speak and being able to travel through Malaysia and things like that as well. So both folds, well, not, there's multiple federations. There's obviously an IPF federation in both countries, but there's a tremendous amount of growth prior to COVID in our sport in those communities, which is fantastic.
Yeah, but he also told them that he did win Mr. Olympia, and so they think that Gawain is Mr. Olympia, and they're like, yes,
yeah. TikTok parade down the main street.
He's the Rock. He's the Rock.
Yeah, they've got like this like shrine of Gawain, and it's like he just lifts weights.
Literally just lift weights.
That's awesome,
That's literally all you do at the moment. It's great.
Yeah.
So Gawain, in terms of powerlifting in Australia, you haven't had a long career, eh? So you've pretty much competed on and off for most years since the early 2000s. Last comp in 2019. All Pro Raw. So Pro Raw, obviously your competition of choice.
Yeah, I just feel like
that's sick comps.
If I'm gonna do,
that's sick comps with relatively good judging for the most part.
Exactly right. Like I respectfully feel that I'm in a position where I can choose to compete with the best of the best. And I feel that Big Dogs and a Pro Raw are probably the best two comps, the pro money cashback comps that I've been a part of. Obviously, you guys had that big one a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
which is really good as well.
Back Invitational.
Yeah.
I'm putting it up because I don't know where the camera's going to be when we do this, but yeah, Jackson, wherever you are on the screen.
But it's for myself in my own lifting career, I choose to put myself on a pedestal, and I want to compete with the best because I believe that I'm a part of that group, and I've earned the right to be a part of that group. So
yeah. Well, I think as soon as you're hitting that 1,000 kilo number, the only way you're ever going to move up from that is by competing with other people that are lifting.
Yeah, you need to surround yourself with that. Hey, you need to surround yourself with people that is better than.
100%. There's no point being the big fish in a little pond. Like you could go and do like a meet where people are, oh my god, that guy's but
he's amazing.
He's amazing, but it's like no, you want to be versing the guys that are going to out squat you or whatever, and then you're like, actually, yeah, it's like when you first start, you want to be versing the big guys.
We're gonna see you in the US, Gawain, doing anything over there?
I don't know what's going to happen with COVID. I was supposed to go again prior to COVID. I was supposed to go and speak in the US, but as far as compete is concerned, I hadn't really I was tinkering around with the idea of doing not Kern because of other reasons, but there was a Record Breakers comp which Ed Cohn said to do, and there was obviously some business related stuff which was going to sort of piggyback that as well. So look, for me, like my ladder of comps for me to win was Pro Raw. I won Pro Raw a couple of times now. The only comp that I haven't won is Big Dogs. So at the moment, that's the only one that's on the list for me. And I've got to get my body back there. And that's what we've been doing in the past few months.
So yeah, how's the body? What's going on there?
It's all right, bro. Like I like you said, I've had a lot of time off. Work put me in a position where it really sort of ran me ragged. And you both can attest to that. My last two comps that I did were just fucking shit. They were so underperformed. I actually had a coach for that comp. Chad was coaching me for that comp. I'm lucky enough to be really great friends with Chad Wesley Smith, right?
We know the name. Yep.
And
shout out to Chad. One day we'll get you back on, mate. Yep.
I just couldn't, even though we were hitting all our numbers and we were doing all the right things, I just couldn't recover. So the lifestyle change was coming ever since then. I was just like, well, if you want to put yourself in a position where you can do the numbers that you are dreaming to achieving, that you know that you can achieve, then you're going to need to make a fucking change. Hey, and we are where we are now. So we're slowly getting the body back together. I squatted 350 in just about, what day is it today? Sunday. On Thursday.
Damn.
So the plan is I've got another 2 blocks of training up my sleeve at the moment. I want to my best my best squat in a belt is 380. So I want to get to like 390, 400. And if I could put myself in that position, I want to do. That's probably about 8 to 10 weeks worth of training blocks there, right? So if I can get through that unscathed, I'll take some time off, and then I will retrain again. And what I'll do is I will prepare for a meet, which I'll just sneaky hide into. No one knows this sort of business, just because I think it's really important to dust the cobwebs off. It's important to compete, and I think it's important from a skills perspective to be able to compete as well. And unless you're actually doing it in the fold with the time and with the people with the stress, I think you can lose actual skill from that. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do a comp, a 3 lift comp, where I'm just going to compete in a belt, and I'd like to go. I don't know if anyone's done 1,000 in just a belt, but I'm going to see if I can have a crack at 1,000 in just a belt. So
that's horrendous. I remember that I think it was Pro Raw 8 that we did. Chad did it completely raw dog. He didn't even bring a soft suit. He had to get one from the Harris guys.
Harris, yeah.
He went like 950 or 960 there, I think.
Chad went 955.
955.
I went 955 because he's a scumbag. And he beat me on bodyweight, the fucking dog.
Dog. Absolutely dogging the boys.
And he reminds me of it all the time. So
you're going to, so that's 400 kilos is the aim, bare knees. That's
right now
disgusting.
It's really not, I can appreciate how, like, it can be scary, but, like, it's really not. Like, people are like, oh, don't your knees hurt? Doesn't this hurt? I'm like, well, my body hurts the same.
All the time anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yeah. You train hard, you hurt. You don't train at all, you hurt.
Exactly right.
If you're going to hurt, just make it worth it.
Hey, exactly right. If you're going to hurt, at least look fucking cool doing it.
Exactly. At least have a reason. Yeah.
Exactly right.
Your joints must be pretty well lubricated with, I've listened to a couple of your podcasts, so I'm a bit backed up with facts here to hit you with. So
okay.
Your joints must be like relatively lubricated with all the macas that you eat before squats, no? Like good healthy fats.
Let me write that down. That's a secret right there. Yeah.
I'm gonna be Macca's needs to pay me some money. It's so funny you said that because like I have this conversation all the time. It was like, man, I used to be able to walk in the gym, 140 on the bar, smash down 2 Big Macs or whatever it was, and then just start warming up. And I'm like, now can't forget about it. I can't do that shit anymore. Let alone eat that much fucking junk food. I can't eat that. I'm 35 now. Like my guts would be fucked.
I'll tell you what, Jackson, you're not there yet, mate, but your stomach does get sensitive as you get older, mate.
It really does as you get older, hey.
Yep. I can drink like 2 coffees with too much milk in it. Yeah, it's game over for the rest of the day.
You're at that stage.
That's not pretty, mate.
Oh,
yeah, can't do dairy, mate. Yep, dairy's out.
Dairy's out.
Dairy is left the building. So for those who are listening, going, just wondering now. So Gawain, you've done your best squat is a 455, your best bench 215, and your best deadlift 390. Those are your numbers, eh?
Yeah. And most of that was done. My best comp total was 1040, which was done many years ago now. So it's like fuck, you need to put it together because I'm obviously stronger than those from a training perspective than that comp, but just the recovery, the work capacity perspective as well needed to be better, or something that we hadn't really sort of considered until we got to that point. Literally after I squatted 1,000 the first time at Pro Raw, I spoke to Ed and I was like, dude, I'm fucking cooked, man. Like after that squat, I was fried. And he was like, gee, you've only got a couple of thousand pound squats in you for your lifetime. And now that you've hit this level, it's going to take some time to get to then go up a level. Because I kind of had been fairly linear with my strength gains, right? But we're kind of at the point now where I'm just like, man, I'm gonna struggle. I'm gonna have to suffer for a while. So to be able to then do those numbers and then back it up with a big deadlift, it took some time and it's taking some time. So it's part and parcel while we're trying to do the practice comp to see where we're at in the next couple of months.
Build the fitness. Yeah, that work capacity is massive. People underappreciate
Massive.
that for powerlifting.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you just sit there and like pull a deck chair out between sets and like you don't have to do shit. And I'm like, okay, dude, you're talking about like those mid-range powerlifters that chat a lot of shit. Like they suck.
They suck.
They have the loudest voices, and they're the cunts that take up your squat rack for fucking 3 hours. You know.
I mean, so for a heavy session, right? A heavy squat session, I'm done in like 45 minutes. So I can go from 0 to 40 in 45 minutes, and I'm done.
There you go. You heard it here first.
So, there's no reason.
Yeah. Grant, I got to ask, because you've told us really early on in the podcast about your professional side of your life as well, and it did occur to me, and I've heard the story a couple of times, that it can be really difficult because you've concentrated a lot in the recent years, on your professional career outside of powerlifting, like your actual work, and I've got a theory that it's incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to be incredibly successful from a professional point of view, work-wise, and also be an elite level powerlifter. And some stories I've heard from the bodybuilding side as well. Like, what do you think about that? Do you think that's got any merit?
Most definitely, brother. Most definitely. Like, I guess it's going to be, first and foremost, it's going to be down to what your perception of. Are you choosing to be an elite human being? Period. Right? And that's elite as in your occupation, or is that an elite as a lifter as well? Right. My career progressed to a point where I was making really, really good money, and I could take time off now. But obviously, my powerlifting suffered. Right, my training suffered. Right, and that's where my passion lied. Is in the lifting side of things. So some people are different though. Some people, you look at guys like I look at Emad in particular. You know, I don't even know, 9-figure business that he manages and runs, and he can still compete and do some numbers that he has done before, right? But it's obviously the fine art of juggling. You know. How much you can and how much you want to invest in one or the other to be able. Somewhere has to suffer, right? Unless you're creating an environment where it's obviously everyone prosper, right? So it's for me. When we're referencing what we were talking about before, it just kind of got to a point where it's like you said, you know, you're working 7 days a week. You work 7 to whatever, 6, 7 to 7. Plus, I'm up at, I wake up in the middle of the night where I'm stressing about work and files and things like that. It just takes away from me being able to execute as a lifter and obviously as a coach at the same breath, right? But luckily, I've put myself in a position where I've suffered enough, and my lifting career has suffered enough, where I can then make these decisions and make these decisions long term for me, for my passions to obviously prosper.
Nice.
It's one of those things, isn't it? Really, the skills are very transferable, but
most definitely
the people
both
who
ways too. Both ways.
100%, 100%. But then the people who are good at this and they put we can't really do things by halves. It's fucking all or nothing. Like, I'm gonna get really fucking good at this.
Yeah.
And then okay, now I've made that be able to do this. Right now, I'm gonna try and maintain that and get really fucking good at this.
Yeah.
The
other thing is as well, like there's an ego thing there as well, right? Like if I'm gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna put 50% in my lifting career and I'm gonna put 50% in my career. How fucking pig-headed and arrogant am I and delusional am I to think that I'm gonna be the guy that's putting 100% into his lifting career?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, how is it that I think that I can beat someone like that? And obviously, luckily at the level that I'm at, like, there's absolutely no chance I could beat guys that have got 100 kilos in the total, right?
Yeah, it's a hard one, man. Like, people think they're working hard. People are doing that. They're putting 50% in, and they've convinced themselves that they are putting 100. And you're like, hang on, no, mate, look at this guy. Or whatever.
Get yourself a Bulgarian coach.
70 sets of squats. I would have ran out the door. What the fuck? Where's the bicep curls, fam? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man. It's just like you kind of get over it, and you guys have been in the sport for a long time, so you just like, it's not apathy. You just like, it just comes and goes with the wind, with people's excuses and just whatever. Like, it's okay. It's okay that you don't want to be great at this. It's okay. Like, but don't put on social media and don't start acting and behaving and talking to others in particular like you're some sort of elite person, because you're going to get pulled up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, people like that. They're like, hey, I want to be able to do that. And I'm like, okay, so like, what are you doing for food? And they're like, oh, I sort of skipped this. And like, oh, I ate heaps yesterday. I'm like, what'd you eat? And they listed off. And I'm like, that's like 2 meals, fam. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, like, you know, and they're like, well, how do you get your food in? I'm like, I actually went out for, I went out for coffee with some mates the other day. And we were sitting there just having a yarn. And I sort of like looked at my watch and I was like, oh yeah, sweet, all good. And then I got out my smoothie that I'd had prepped, you know, and started drinking. And he's like, what's that? And I'm like, oh, it's like 1,000 calories, you know.
You gotta eat it, man.
I'm like, they're like, do you always carry a bag with you pretty much everywhere? I'm like, yeah, pretty much. Like, it's not pretty, it's not sexy, but it works.
Gotta do what I gotta do, right?
You know,
whenever I get people ask me for coaching inquiries, or they send emails for the coaching inquiries, I'd always tell them, go listen to the podcast I did with Brian Greco. Have a look at what I expect of him in regards to controlling micro from day to day to day. The variables obviously affect the outcome. If you can't handle that, then we're not going to be able to work with each other, because these are basics. If you can't track your steps, you can't tell me what you eat. You can't, like, if you're unwilling to tell me how well I'll track your sleep, then, you know, how am I going to respect you the same way that I respect myself? Because I'm going to treat you as I treat myself as an elite lifter. So you're going to lose. It's that simple. Well, unless you're okay with that, then by all means.
Yeah, that's it. People don't take kind of that. If you're okay with, because I can't think of anything worse than being average. I say that to the missus all the time. I'm like, fuck that. Fuck being average, man. That's shit. What the fuck? How did the average person survive?
Absolutely not.
And you say to people, you're like, okay, were you willing to do this? Or are you like, yeah, are you okay with just being average? Oh, man.
I got a mate of mine who's an IFBB pro bodybuilder. He's a very, very, very good bodybuilder, right? And we were having this conversation, I think post the Arnold one time, and he was beginning to really develop a coaching brand and himself as a competitor. And he was frustrated. And we were just chatting, and he's like, man, I had this conversation. There's a conversation a story that I tell people all the time. It's like, you know, people, particularly young men, will come up to him and approach and be like, look, you know, I want to be a pro bodybuilder. I want to be a bodybuilder. You know, I'll do whatever it takes. All right. Are you willing to eat 5,000 calories of clean food? Yep, I'll do it. I'll eat whatever. All right, cool. Are you willing to sleep 7-8 hours a day? Yep, I'll do it. Okay, cool. Are you willing to spend $100, $200 a week on sports supplements, EAAs, and all that sort of stuff? Yep, I'll do it. Are you willing to take, X, Y, Z for the next, willing to take X, Y, Z?
Risk your health.
I will take whatever it is. You're aware of the fact that risks your health? Yep, I'm aware of that. All right, cool. Are you prepared to do that for 5 to 10 years?
Yeah. What?
Oh,
no. 5
days.
5
5 days.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Oh, I've got this thing coming up on Saturday, but I can probably start. I can start on Monday. Start Monday. Is that cool? Yeah. I can still go out though on weekends.
Weekends don't count.
Yeah, no, you can't. Yeah.
It's hard, man. Like that commitment thing, you know, like people don't like it.
I think it's okay. It's okay. Like people, like I want to surround myself with people who want to be great, because like we were saying before, it translates from lifting to business to your occupation. If you're wanting to be an entrepreneur and work for a company, if you family, relationships, all those things, it all works in with each other.
I did a stint in bodybuilding once, and I was decidedly average. But I knew
he did it for the 5 weeks. This is where it's from. He didn't do it for 5 years. He did it for 5 weeks.
I did it for a good period of time. I won a novice class, and then I thought, no, I'm gonna take this somewhere.
Hang on. interjection. Sorry. How many people were in your class? If you say you're the only one, I'm going to slap you next time.
No. There was four in that novice class.
Okay. All right.
But disclaimer. Yeah, one guy had played a game of rugby that morning. And one guy had forgotten his tan. So look, it wasn't rocket science. But I tell you what, like I put 16 weeks into an event to a comp once, and I nearly lost my job. My family, my wife hated me, my kids hated me, my friends hated me, my extended family hated me because I was just a dick, because it's so regimented to the food. And because my genetics were just not there, I came like third in that class and in some shit show, in mid North Island here in New Zealand. And I thought, look, yeah, I could take this further. If I had the genetics, I would have gone, okay, it's probably going to be worth it, maybe give or take. But, you almost had to sacrifice everything to be so singularly focused on that goal that it just wasn't. It's a game for the young one. I think if you're young, single, because that's the conundrum, eh? If you're young, single, all the time in the world, you don't give a shit about your career. You're in the prime position to really nail something like that. But the older you get, the more commitments, career-wise, family, kids.
More balance you need.
Yeah, exactly. You just don't. You can't put that time and effort into something like that unless you're prepared to sacrifice, and that's what these guys do. Even these pro bodybuilders with families, they go off to Dubai, for example, for 6 months. But they have the genetic pinch it. They can come. Top 5 of the Arnold.
They're the elite of the elite.
Yeah. That's where it's worth it. But when you're sacrificing all that for a fucking third place finish at shit show in Waikato. It's just not, that's what I decided. No, it's just not worth it. I ain't got what it takes. I don't want to put it in. Yeah.
Sorry.
Grain, no, I was just going to say, Grain. I before we finish off tonight, I wanted to. There's always that video that goes around that Marcos likes to share every 6 months, which is well worth watching. Tell us, I think everybody on the internet's seen it by now, but take us through that moment, that big squat and the moment with Arnold.
I wish I could remember, man. I really wish I could
remember. Oh, is that right? You're blanked out.
Oh, shit.
Because, when it's like, I don't know if this is the way that you guys operate, but when I make the walk, like it's blinkers on, and I've obviously fired all the way up to 10 plus, and I fucking can't remember really what happened. All I literally remember was the fact that, like, prior to that, I was starting to get really shitty because they were like, Arnold's coming, we're gonna slow everything down, right? And I'm like, I kind of don't give a fuck that Arnold's coming because I'm in a comp. It's my first comp back from a tricep rupture. I am focusing on not dying right now. Don't care. Arnold's not here. And then so they slowed everything down, and then it got to a point where the break between lifts was going to be around like 15, 20 minutes. So I'm cold now, man. Good. And this is my third attempt as well. I'm like, I've never done these weights before. Yeah. And I'm cold, and I'm just like, I had a beanie on, towel over my legs just to stay warm. And then it just got to a point where E-Mad was like, nah, fuck it. Like, this is too big of a risk for G. Come out now. And I'm like, Max, let's go, because I'm cold right now and I've got to squat this fucking 400 kilos. And it was playing on my mind too, because it was only Odell who'd squatted a 400 prior to me. So it was just me and him, and he was there. So it was really cool. And then I just remember firing all the way up and focusing in. And then I just felt like the entire crowd just like go up a level, right? And in my head, I'm at 10. I'm like, let's fucking go, So I'm thinking it's me. I'm thinking, man, the crowd's getting behind me. I'm going, well, this is mad. Blah, blah, blah. And like you watch the longer video, and it's Arnold walking there.
Yeah, it'll work for you, mate. It'll work for you anyway. You take it, man. You take it.
What a dickhead.
Like you didn't walk out like this going, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And no one's looking at you.
But
everyone with the cameras out, it was so good. but like I'm thinking it's me, you know, and I'm like, I'm fucking sick. Like this is gonna be mad. And then I remember hearing, I think it was Thomas Lilly on the mic and said something to Arnold, and I just remember just blasting it as I just remember in my head, I'm like, I don't give a fuck whatever is on the bar right now. I'm gonna fucking blast this as hard as I possibly can. And I did that, and then like I don't know, Arnold was there, and for whatever reason, I mean mugged the guy because I was fired up to 10, and then and then I put it back. And then I went to high-fived him, and it was a little bit too hard. So
you ripped his fucking arm off.
Yeah. And he's never come back to pro roll ever again.
Arnold was in hospital fucking 6 months later having open heart surgery from the fucking heart attack he gave him.
That's awesome.
I remember watching that because I think we were off to the side. We were in like the bench warm-up room. You know how he had the two sides off to the left. And I remember watching it, and I was just like, holy shit, this is Arnold's there. This is hectic. And he had like this team of like guards around him. And then you're like just in the middle, Gawain. Like I'd seen you the year before when you ruptured your tricep, which was fucking gnarly as.
Yeah.
But obviously, I remember seeing you. You were so fired up for that squat. I was like, if anyone is in the way of that bar, they're getting put through a wall. Like it was one of those ones. It was proper like I was like, this guy's gonna, you know, like when Hoff throws Louis when he comes off that. I was like, someone get in the way. I want to see Gawain throw someone.
I was fucking pinging off my head. You know, it's funny you say that because the mention this the warm-up room to the left was because prior to the day, I got there early to weigh in for whatever reason. I got to weigh in, but I got to weigh in. And I was sitting there with Max and Sean, who's the digital guy, right?
Yeah.
And Arnold's PA came over, and I was sitting there with Max. We were just chilling, and he came over to Marcus, and Marcus was there, and he was like, "Hey, so very corporate, very formal. Hey, so Arnold will be coming at this time. How does that work for you guys? Who's going to be this? What's going to be going at this time? What's he going to see? Who's going to be the star? This sort of shit." And Marcus was like, "Yeah, we'll be ready. That guy's going to squat 400." And I was like,
"What he said?"
Yeah, he was like, "Gawain's going to squat 400," and I was like, "Hey, what the fuck?" Don't tell Arnold's PA. Don't tell them that I'm going to do that. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And he was like, "Oh, really?" The PA was like, "Oh, wow, that's amazing. Okay, cool. We'll be here and then we'll see you then." And I was just like, "What the fuck have you done?"
No pressure.
No, what have you done, man? And then the guy turned back around and he was like, "Oh, by the way, there will be the security guards. We'll channel him through this way, through the crowd. Can we just understand that no one's allowed to touch Arnold?"
Gawain's like, "You fucking watch me, son."
Yeah, exactly.
And it was funny because my mates were the security guards, right? So I don't know if they actually would have stopped me, but like, it's just so the entire experience was just fucking funny. It was like meant to have happened.
It was, Gawain's like, "You know who the fuck I am?"
This
is Arnold, but you know who I am.
You can imagine the debrief afterwards where they're like, "Yeah, that was my bad. I wasn't
my bad. Sorry."
Yeah, who got fired for that?
Yeah. I didn't think it was going to come out of the rack like that. So yeah, sorry about that, Arnold.
Yeah, they said he would walk off the back. I'll set myself out. Fuck.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's good. That was
Gawain,
good,
fucking pleasure having you on, man. How do people reach you, find you, text you?
Text me.
Yeah.
I'm mainly on Instagram, 85G in it. Or just my full name, GawainJohnston@gmail.com. I'm always open to helping wherever I can, like we said.
Ain't for fucking free though, you motherfuckers. It's no free shit.
Yeah. Have your checkbooks fucking at the ready.
Yeah, first program was free. Second, you're paying through the teeth.
You're paying 10 times.
Yeah. Awesome, man. It's been
thank you so much, boys.
Yeah,
it's been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate it. It's the first New Zealand podcast that I've ever done. So I'm very, very, very grateful to be here and to have a proper chat with you boys. Because we've never really had a proper chat. So
we're New Zealand's best. We're New Zealand's best podcast, mate.
We're New Zealand's only podcast.
I've gone straight to the top. Straight to the top.
Legend. All right, Gawain, take it easy, man.
Like the epitome of powerlifting.
Awesome.
Cheers, brothers. Great. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, fellas.